Everyone, from me, Brent Graham, at 9 o'clock. It's a Thursday night. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat that matters. If you think things look a bit different around me, you are right. I've moved my office to the lounge so that I can watch the Tour de France and the Ashes, which I'm thoroughly enjoying during the day. And if you're wondering why it's dark, well, of course, it's load shedding here in Johannesburg or in Rampart Ridge, where I am at the moment. And the final thing I'll point out, I found this old tracksuit in the cupboard, All Africa Poker tracksuit. I played in the All Africa Poker Championship. I was sponsored in, thank goodness, in 2009. Check the records, 106th out of 109 players, a top performance. Anyways, let's get into the rugby and introducing the guests. I'm going to start off at the top of the screen with the undertaker, Henrik Swart. Henrik, good to have you on the show, mate. How are things down your way?
Thanks for having me. The Rugby Championship and I like the build up to lots to hear the coach's thoughts, and I'm looking forward to Eddie Jones at Australia. So
I am battling a bit. Alan, are you battling to your Henrik a bit?
A little, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me come.
Okay, we can't hear Henrik there. I'm just going to take him out for now. So, Alan, you and I'll carry on there. Quite a lot of guys joining us in the live chat. How's it to Mark, Fareed, Sharkbrain? Haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you, man. 2M Systems, Werner Hesselman, and Mark Dunphy. Right, Alan, let's bring you in. I know you've been down at Craven Week most of the week. Had a bit of a drive back to Cape Town today. And judging by the time I saw you online last night, we have to hope you don't doze off during the show.
I've had a Red Bull sugar-free, so I'm good to go, Brent. Going to be lekker to look forward to watching the Springboks again, especially in a World Cup year. Very interesting test match, I think, for us to start. Probably the hardest one we could have had in a new look Eddie Jones side. Should be a lekker weekend with that, and then the semi-final, which of the under-20s as well.
Yeah, looking really forward to that as well. Just a reminder, if you do enjoy the show, give us a like. It helps the channel a lot. And if you're not on our newsletter subscription list yet, go down below. You can get a link to that. And I've also put a link there to Alan's newsletter at Jackal for Life. And he, of course, covers things like daily wraps of the Craven Week. And if you enjoy your schoolboy rugby, then you must subscribe to that. But we're going to get into it now. I know Henrik is going to attempt to get back onto the show. But we're going to start off, Alan, I want to just want to pull up some of the outright. We're going to start off with the Rugby Championship, and to get started, and don't worry about it too much from a betting perspective at this stage, but from your point of view, who's going to win the Rugby Championship? Who do you think's got the best chance of winning?
Yeah, it's a shortened one, being a World Cup year, so that makes it a bit trickier, I think, to sort of judge, because some guys have got an easier set of games than other countries. I think I really like the look of our side. I think a lot of experience has been built up over the last 4 years, off the back of a World Cup win. I think we'll have a tough time on Saturday with sort of I think there's a lot of mind games and things, and I think our guys might be sort of worried about might think too much about what might be coming, some surprises that Jones will have. I really like the look of the side, actually, even though there are a number of Oaks out to, with that split squad for the New Zealand trip. So, I really like the look of our side, and I think we can get a rare win in New Zealand in 2 weeks' time as well. Or no, sorry, it's next week.
Yeah, more guys joining us. We'll talk about that now as we get into the game. Just in terms of the outright betting, Henrik will be coming back in as soon as he can. But personally, I'm in the Australian camp here. I think they can give South Africa a go. We'll talk about that a little bit later. They play New Zealand at home, and I think there's a bit of value there. But anyway, we'll get Henrik back on at the moment, and we'll get his thoughts on the outright betting. But Al, we'll stay with you as we move into the first game. I do have the for the guys.
Sorry, Ben. Just perhaps, I think maybe the value for me from betting side would be, as you say, perhaps to put money on the Aussies, perhaps not to win the championship, but to win the Bledisloe. I think they're primed for that this year.
Excellent. It was Zander for rejoining us as well. Evening, Zander. Welcome to the show. Right, let's get cracking on the first game. The Undertaker is going to be battling his way back into the show. Right, Alan, here we got the first game taking place at Loftus, South Africa. Very good record against Australia at Loftus. In fact, a very good record against Australia at home, but we haven't played them at home. I was quite surprised, actually, since I think 2019 I was checking out there. There was some 10.5 available early in the week. I think it was Mark Dunphy who was saying, or perhaps it was Fareed. I'll have a look now. Someone was saying, Fareed was saying clever money coming for Australia. I must say I didn't get on early, but I did fancy this one straight away. I thought Australia are well capable of giving us a run. They picked a side which surprised me a little bit in some ways, but I think is pretty strong. We've obviously got the split squad. What do you think? Are we heading for a close game here, or can South Africa run away with this one and beat the handicap?
No, I think we are headed for a close game. One thing that struck me when I saw the side, I was amazed that that old James Slipper still plays for Australia. He's always, for me, sort of flown under the radar. I think he's, not the world's greatest scrummager, as no Aussies are really, but I was amazed to see he's still in the mix. But I think the big one for them is Skelton. I mean, you see what a difference that makes in that La Rochelle side. I mean, the whole world sort of slows into slow motion when he gets the ball. But I mean, he's a brute, eh? And I mean, if you look at his size against Ori, I think they'll use him extensively. And then they've got Arnold on the bench, and he's really destructive for Toulouse as well. So, this is a good Aussie side, I think, eh? Really big backline as well, with that Vunivalu, the rugby league convert. I'm sure we'll stick bombs on him though. When Rassie in that Lion series, when he said they must kick on Van der Merwe because he's cock in the air, I think he'll be saying the same things about Vunivalu. I don't rate him in the air, so I'm sure they'll stick some bombs on him. It's I think it's going to be very close, Brent. A couple of points, I guess. And Quade Cooper, unfortunately, always plays really well against us. He's back in the mix as well.
Well, interesting comment from Paridi, and I think interesting in that I think there's a lot of sense to this. Box split squad is genius in a World Cup year, but this game might be the sacrifice. And on that note, I'm going to bring the Undertaker back in. Henrik, give us your views on this game. We've got a points line here, 51.5. I did see Shark Brain saying he thought this might be an overs game. And I can't remember who else I spoke to, but maybe it was a forum post going overs as well. We got a handicap of 8.5. Give us your thoughts here, and then just also share your thoughts on the outright. We chatted about that while you were getting back to the show.
Firstly, can you hear me better now? I hope I'm better.
Yes, that's better.
Okay, cool. Let me first go to the outright. I know you like Australia in the outright. I like the box. I backed the box at just over 2-1. Even though I think the plus is the way to go at Loftus, I think the box will do enough to win the game. And with the best players going over to Auckland for next week, I think we'll beat New Zealand there as well. And then we come back to play Argentina, or we go there. Anyway, I think the box will win all 3 day games. And I think the box is the value. I can't argue with you on Australia. There's obviously value in that price. I think anybody backing New Zealand must be mad, especially in the World Cup year. That price is way too low. At odds on, it just doesn't make sense. I like the box in the outright. This game, I'm also on the plus. I think plus 8.5 is still very good. And I took some plus 10.5 and plus 9.5. Like I said, I'd still take the plus 8.5. I'm a fan of Quade Cooper. I see Shark Brain commenting there as well. He says Quade Cooper is slotting the penalties. I'm a bit nervous with Quade taking the kicking. I'm not sure whether Arch might take all the kicks actually, because Arch, in my opinion, is a bit of a better place kicker. But I expect Australia to get a few penalties, and with the game being at altitude and at Loftus, there will be more chances to take the 3 points. So I like the over 21.5 points on Australia. So you're looking at two tries, 1 converted, and 3 penalties, and then you've got 22 points. So I think that's the way to go. The over 21.5. The 51.5. You said now somebody on the forum, it was Mondo commenting this afternoon. He likes the overs as well. I like the overs on Australia points more than the overs on total points, Brent. And while I like the plus here, I think that over 21.5 on Australia, I think that's the bet on this game. That's the one I like the most. So yeah, that will be my biggest bet on this one, but I'm already on a plus as well.
Well, the newsletter will be coming out tomorrow, and let me tell you, there's a good chance that could be the best bet of the weekend. I also like that over 21.5. We did have a win last week. We took a horse racing treble on July Day. Unfortunately, the last leg didn't take place due to load shedding of all things, but we did catch a small little double there, so carrying a bit of form into this weekend. Any other comments for you on this game, Alan, before we move on? Any comments on what Hendrik said there?
Yeah, I think I'll just concur with Hendrik. Mondo also sent me a message around Australia points. I think if it isn't, it should be your best bet for the weekend. I think as I say, I think Eddie Jones they'll be clever on attack. The first test back for the year, our defensive structure might still be a bit rusty. So I think they should easily get 20 points, and with it being in the half felt, that there's no worries of like a muddy pitch and things like that in the Western Cape that we've had for the under 20s. So I think it'll be points. I mean, you've got Reinach and Libok are probably the most attacking halfback combo that we can pick. I think the Oaks are going to play. I think we could be in for quite an exciting and close game.
That's it. I remember watching, and I can't pinpoint the year, but I remember being on the days when Hendrik and I used to play shirt numbers with the spreads. And I'll never forget buying Australia shirts at Loftus. And I think they started off with like 3 tries in like 12 minutes, which of course would be perfect for us. And I think the box won 40 odd, 30 odd or something in the end. And perhaps we'll get one of those games. So I certainly do like those Australian points quite a bit as well. Farid's saying, not an overs or unders player, but he likes that one as well. Let's move on to the next game. It is, of course, Argentina up against New Zealand. Now, quite interesting that New Zealand only play one home game. They play away against Argentina and away against Australia. And, of course, that's the thing about this 3-game format. All the more reason why I was a bit surprised to find New Zealand trading at odds on. Henrik, I'm going to start with you on this one. This handicap has not budged this week. It's been 13.5 pretty much since it opened. Yet it's strange. Virtually every punter that I see on Twitter or that I speak to is saying Argentina on the plus.
Argentina to win the game, Brent.
Right,
I like the plus a lot. Yeah. So and then again the points here. In my opinion, this is even a better points play. Argentina over 19.5 points. I just before the show, like 5 minutes before I came on, I saw the New Zealand team, very very average New Zealand team. You obviously know how I feel about Ian Foster. Now they've gone and picked a very average team as well. Damien McKenzie starting at 10. You know how I feel about that as well. Mwanga on the bench. So I can see Argentina easily scoring more than 19 points here, closer to 30 actually. Home game plus 13.5 on Argentina. I'm a big fan of Michael Cheika as well. I'm all over Argentina. I'm stronger on Argentina than I am on Australia.
That's a nice confident selection. And the boys in the live chat very much agreeing with you. Mark is going on Australia, and Sharkbraid making the point that New Zealand played pretty much a B team. Right, Alan? Henrik has said he's confident on Argentina. I'm going to tell you before I bring you in that I'm also confident on Argentina. Are you going to take us on, or are you going to rubber stamp us?
No, rubber stamp. I think... Also, I think this could be the year where, New Zealand's decision to excommunicate us and kick us out of Super Rugby, I think, is going to show that it was foolhardy. I think in the World Cup, I think France are going to kill them in that opening game. I think they're going to have a tough Rugby Championship. The Super Rugby is effectively, they just play each other. It's like internal league at school. You know what I mean? That's the extent of their rugby now. They must be... if you guys remember back to those dark days of COVID when when there were all those SA derbies, you got sick and tired of them. And that's basically what New Zealand rugby boils down to now in the playoff games. And I think also with Mendoza, it'll be like a hostile atmosphere there, and the keys, they won't have like cowbells ringing and things like that at Waikato and whatever. So I think it's they could have a hell of a tough time there. And I think also just with the side that they've picked, someone on the chat alluded to sacrificing a game. I think maybe the Kiwis have given up on this one.
Yeah, I guess they've probably picked the side thinking they're going to win it, but I guess all of us punters are thinking, here's a good opportunity, and we can. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that I like the plus, but I'll probably have a little bit of the outright as well. Just quickly, Henrik, points on this one, 54.5. I guess if you're so strong on Argentina, you probably don't want to bother too much with points, unless maybe it's Argentina overs.
Argentina points, Brent, for me. I think the overs, total points. I checked the weather prediction for Mendoza as well. Perfect weather, like in Pretoria. So both games, the wind and the rain won't be a problem. So it's perfect conditions. And you've got Angus Gardner, the ref here. He's an overs ref. He likes the game to flow. The Loftus game, I'm a bit concerned because Ben O'Keefe is the ref there, and this year he tended to have a few unders games on the Super Rugby, so I'm a bit worried about that one just for the ref. But Angus Gardner, the ref, is over 54.5, definitely the play as well. Can't go unders there. And a lot of times in Argentina, the games tend to be very high scoring. So yeah, but for me, just that overs on Argentina, much stronger there.
Henry, quick question for you then. We talked about value in the outright markets, and you said you like the box, fair enough, and I think if the box get the win in this first game, that will obviously be good. If Australia upset them, clearly Australia are going to shorten dramatically. But if Argentina beat New Zealand, you've got a side that's 25-1 at the moment. Would you like to have that ticket in your hand going into the last two rounds? Because Argentina's problems in the past, I mean, they beat New Zealand last year in Christchurch, and then they got hammered the week after. But maybe in a 3-round tournament, that could suit them. If they could pull an upset out of the bag, 25-1 will shorten pretty quickly. But I guess if you're on the box, you're not going to bother about that ticket.
Yeah, Brent, you make a lot of sense with your reasoning there. With it being a shorter version of the tournament this year, just one-off games against each other, that 25.5 is very big, like you said. And that's why I also say you'd have to be mad to take odds on New Zealand. I think that's a silly price, like 7, 8 to 10 on New Zealand. There's no way I take them. So yeah, 25.5. You can't get hurt at that price. They're saying, the guys lots of times say, with those big prices. So you can put something on that. But yeah, I just like the box. I think the box will do enough to win this weekend, and then they've got the big guns next weekend. They will win in New Zealand, and I think they will want the momentum going into the World Cup and want the Rugby Championship, and especially the psychological win over New Zealand. I think that's big for Rassie and Jock. So I think that's why I like the box.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the box win the opening two games, I don't see Argentina standing in our way in the third game. If it's Argentina coming in with the motivation, the big chance of winning it might be different. Right, let's move on to the Under-20 World Championship. But I called it semi-finals in the heading. It's, I suppose, all of them in their own way are semi-finals. We now go into the playoffs for places 1-4, 5-8, and 9-12. We'll run through some of those games now. Let's start off with the 9-12 bracket, Alan. We got Italy up against Fiji. Both sides been a little bit hot and cold. Italy, I thought, were very disappointing against Georgia in their last match. And Fiji, actually not too bad against Ireland. I know Hendrik was on the plus 37.5. I think it was Fiji against Ireland there. And they did the business. But Alan, what do you make of this one? We got Fiji 11-point favorites.
Yeah, I think, sure. To be honest, I think Italy will take this one. Yeah, I do agree with you though in saying that they would have been very disappointed not to beat Georgia after beating us. But yeah, I think I mean, I haven't seen, as I say, I've said all along with Fiji. I think they're sort of liable to fade at the end. Yeah, I would go Italy here, 100%.
Henrik, for yourself,
Yeah,
I know you've been following the under-20s.
Yeah, Brent, I've enjoyed it, and I agree with Alan. I think Italy is the way to go here. They have been impressive, like the last game against Georgia, not so much. But yeah, and as good as Fiji was in that game, I just think Italy's structure will be too good for Fiji. Italy, they've got a good scrum. Look, Georgia has got a very good scrum, so they dominated Italy a bit there, but Italy, I think they will do enough to win by more than 2 tries here.
Right, and before we move on to the next game, a reminder to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell if you want to be notified of our Tour de France previews. I'll probably get one out later tonight. Tomorrow should be quite a simple stage. It's definitely going to be a sprint, in my opinion. Right, Henrik, we'll stay with you for the next game. Argentina minus 17.5 against Japan. Now, this is an interesting one because I'm just thinking of it from a mindset point of view. Argentina had to beat the Box, well, with a bonus point, but they had a good chance of making it through to the last 4. And by losing that game, and I mean at halftime they were leading, by losing that game, they're now not even playing for 5 to 8 anymore. They're playing for 9 to 12. It must be a bit of a letdown for the squad. Do you read anything into that? And I mean, what do you think here on the handicap?
Yeah, Brent, and another thing with these last round games, you have to think about the coach giving everybody in the squad a run. So you're not sure whether the best player is going to start for the team as well. But yeah, it's tough going for Japan. They looked good against New Zealand, and they fell away badly in that game. So I think Argentina on the minus is the way to go there, but definitely not confident on that one, Brent. Just if I have to make a choice on the handicap, I'd go for the minus there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. This is not one of the games I'll be looking to get involved with on a busy weekend. Alan, anything jump out for you here? Any views on this game?
Yeah, I think. Well, not I think. I know. I agree with Henrik on that. The thing with the Argies, especially perhaps at a junior level, is you sometimes got to factor in that the famous racial stereotyping of the Latin temperament. And do they just get over it and give up, or are they properly invested in this game? As you say. This is not a game that I would watch in all honesty, really, and definitely wouldn't be putting any money on this one.
Right. Well, let's go to the next game. I can tell you there has been money in this game. I'll quickly check actually while Alan's talking what I handicapped this game, but I think I made Australia almost favourites for this game, if I'm not mistaken. There was plus 9.5 Australia early in the week. That has been snapped up. I think it's around about the 6.5 point mark now. I didn't look around at too many places. But now, Alan, Australia did beat New Zealand. It was considered something of a shock in the build-up. But from what I've seen of these two sides, I'm not sure I wouldn't have Australia as favourite for this game. What do you make of it?
Yeah, 100%. I think you need to factor in that win earlier this year, and also Australia also battle hardened. They had a really tough pool. So yeah, I think also in saying how sort of impressed I've been with Australia, I've been equally as equally unimpressed by New Zealand. I mean, Japan were beating them. I watched a bit of that during the Crane week. I just had it on my phone for a bit, and I think it just shows what a mess that New Zealand side is in. And I think Australia would be confident going into the game, and I would have made them quite strong favourites, I would think.
Well, I think I haven't seen any of Henrik's comments on this game yet, but I almost know that he's going to be going for Australia. And Henrik, I'm not going to argue with you. I think Australia win this game. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Brent, you don't have to worry about the plus here. The plus is a waste of time. You just take Australia to win the game. Australia will win this game. I'm not sure about it, but this is probably the first time that New Zealand have not qualified for the semi-finals after.
I think there was one year they finished 8th or 9th. I just remember seeing. I can't remember which year. I think it was one really bad year.
Yeah. But New Zealand rugby is on the decline, and I could concur with Alan with what he said earlier about Super Rugby. They are missing us badly. Playing against our forwards and our structure, our mauls and our lineouts and scrums, and that, they are missing that badly. And like Alan said, it's going to come in the World Cup, and it's going to bite them badly. So obviously Scott Robertson is going to make a difference next year, and they will probably be a bit better. But from the bottom, and I know you have said this for a few years now as well, Brent, the junior structures have gotten worse, and it's you can see it clearly now. Normally, earlier or a few years ago, they dominated this competition. But yeah, now, and I think the bookmakers are still overvaluing them. So I like taking them on. There's always value going against them. So yeah, I'm all over Australia here. This is one of the better under 20 bets here. Australia to win the game.
And just quickly, Alan, to bring you back in on the New Zealand team. And look, make no mistake, I'm not talking about this as a South African because I haven't been very impressed with South Africa either. But this is the first time I can remember a New Zealand team where there's just no game breakers. There's none. Even the wingers, they talk about them. They're not bad, but there's none of those. Normally, New Zealand always had those one or two players. You get them the ball, and they're going to deliver for you. And they just doesn't seem to be the players coming through the ranks in New Zealand. I mean, if I'm a New Zealander, I'm pretty concerned at the moment looking at this under 20 side.
Yeah, I think the guy who's been the most disappointing for me is that their captain, that Hotham. He was highly regarded as a schoolboy, and he's got a lot of Super Rugby experience, really. Well, not a lot, but he's at least played at that level. So you would have thought he would really shine, and he's been shocking. I mean, I don't think if you have a mullet like that, Geordie Viljoen, I don't think you should ever be eligible for selection. But he I think is a he just brings something a lot different when he's on. I'm amazed at how pedestrian this Hotham is. He's kicking, shocking. To be honest, he looks. I mean, he looks like unconditioned as well. Which is quite surprising considering he's been in a Super Rugby setup. And I just found when Viljoen plays, his service is so much better. But yeah, there's nothing really to frighten you about them. Their pack isn't big. They don't have like some huge islanders running at you. And their backline are just like quite average, and they've got bogged down obviously in the mud as well, which probably hasn't helped them either. But you are very unimpressed by this New Zealand side. Apart from sort of 5 minutes against France, they haven't really done much to justify any confidence in them at all in this game against Oz.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we're all aligned on that one. I'm going to start off with Henrik on this game. Georgia -5.5 against Wales. Georgia, very impressive in their win over Italy. I did see a comment in the chat about the fact that the French need to show a few birth certificates. Some of their players look a bit old. I must say the same could apply to the Georgians. Geez, man, a couple of guys, my son and I were watching the other day, and we're like, whoa, geez, how old is that guy? But Henrik, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a forum post from you. You like Georgia in this game.
Yeah, Brent, I like the minus here. Georgia's set pieces have been very impressive. So, yeah, I like the minus, and my post was I've taken a double on Georgia to win their game and Ireland to win their game against the Box at even money. And I think that's a very safe bet, in my opinion. But, yeah, obviously like the minus here as well. Wales, they have been impressive at times. But, yeah, I just like Georgia. And I think the bookies are undervaluing Georgia here just because Wales are a bigger rugby nation, bigger in italics. But yeah, I think there's lots of value with Georgia on the minus here.
Yeah, interesting. I capped this game. I actually thought Wales would start favourites, but I can totally see that my cap was wrong. Whether I'll be wrong at the end of the day is, of course, another story. Alan, yourself on this game, are Georgia going to do the business? They also strike me as one of those sides, and I'm thinking perhaps more about the senior level when you. A bit like the Pumas in the Curry Cup. You're perhaps a bit nervous to back them when they're favourites. You prefer to back them when they're underdogs. Do you think they can justify the favourites tag here?
Yeah, I think that is a fair comment with them. But yeah, I mean they, I thought they, I saw them live against us, where they 100% held their own. But I mean, as we've seen with that junior box side, maybe that's not saying too much. But I think they're desperately unlucky not to have gone through in our place. Really, I mean, I know we went. I would have thought, to the tiebreaker to split the team that on the same points would be points difference, not the head-to-head. And if it was points difference, we were nowhere. We would have, we were 13 points behind them. So that I think that also shows that Georgia. Had a far better pool stage than we did. And I think they should have a lot of confidence going into this game. They'll be psyched up to, they always want to prove a point against nations teams because I think they feel like they belong there. So they'll be pretty pumped up. And yeah, that number 6 of theirs, there's no ways that Oak's under 20. I mean, he looks about 40. Yeah.
I should be having his testimonial game.
Yeah, benefit here. Yeah, let's the jury's still out on that. But no, I think I'm just working out a multiple for the weekend, and I think Georgia will be in mine.
Excellent. I just want to bring up Stefan's comment here. He says Georgia, one of the few teams that actually win their lineups. The rest are a coin toss. Now, Stefan, yes, I'm pleased you actually brought that up, because I felt the lineups have been absolutely atrocious. Now, I know there's been wet and there's been rain, but what I don't understand, and I mean, my son must get tired of me saying that's brain dead rugby. What I don't understand is if you're missing your lineouts, why don't you just revert to the 2-ball? And I'm talking generally across the board here. Just revert to your 2-ball and secure the ball. It's better than throwing it over the back and losing the ball or knocking it on. And correct, Georgia have been one of the few sides that can win their lineouts. And I've been absolutely appalled at the standard of lineouts. I think it was Mondo who made the comment on Twitter. There must be money to be made if you're a lineout coach, because you can only improve on some of these lineouts that we've seen. So just my 2 cents worth there on the lineouts. We're going to stick with you, Alan. We go now into the big 2 games, the battle for the top 4 places. Ireland against South Africa. Now, the baby box, I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. They were looking terrible against Argentina. They brought a couple of players off the bench, but a couple of their starters also stepped up, and they did the business in that second half to book their spot in the last 4. I was impressed with that, but overall, I would still say that this is a baby box side, well off the sort of levels we would expect. Just before I bring you in there, Mark did make the point, and very, very sad, there has been quite a bit of tragedy along in the Irish camp, and that can have an impact. But at the end of the day, Ireland, I think, worthy favourites here. What do you reckon? You think the baby box can cause an upset, or would you be backing the Irish to win by 8 or more?
I think they should really. They seem a lot more structured. Their 9 and 10 are really good, and they've got a really good pack. Also consecutive Six Nations champions. I don't think they've lost in the 6. I think they've Grand Slammed both of those. So they definitely Grand Slammed this year. So
yes,
I think we're going to be in a lot of trouble here. And as I say, watching that game on Tuesday, I was under the impression, because the logs that I saw beforehand had teams sort of seeded according to points difference. So I was, the whole time I was watching it, I was quite baffled as how we were just letting the game meander, because I thought, geez, we need to get points here. And as you say, I mean, you do have to give credit to them, to turn that around at halftime, because when the hooter went and Smith didn't even kick that ball out, I very nearly said, I've had enough. I can't watch any more of this. But I did stay with it. But it's your eyes hurt quite a lot watching those Oaks. I must say, it is a hell of a chew to get through a baby bock game these days. But I mean, the lineouts become like an absolute joke. It's not even a coin toss. I mean, that one short ball that they reverted to when Beetz took it about 2 meters from else, I mean, that just was mind blowing. That line out of ours, and I mean, we're getting pumped in the scrums as well. I thought I've seen Yennis play in under 20 level.
Who's the hooker? Is it else or something? The hooker there.
Yeah, he's actually a loose head. I mean, he's good in the loose.
I was going to make that point. He actually had a bloody storming game in the loose, but we couldn't find a line out.
Yeah, and he's a converted loose head. One of the big stages of schoolboy rugby, I was with him for a lot part of the week in George, and he's one of his mantras around rugby is that a hooker is obviously, it's a hugely specialized position, and a hooker must have been a hooker his whole life. You can't sort of create a hooker 20 years old. He needs to have grown up throwing the ball in a line out. That is the thing, because else is actually, he's a good player other than that. But if you can't throw the ball in the line out and you play hooker, kind of defeats the purpose. Then why doesn't he just stay as a loose head? I can't see us. I mean, to me, I would be amazed if we won this game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Henrik. In fact, I make Ireland -7.5 one of my better bets for the weekend. I've been quite impressed by the Irish. I think they'll be fired up for this one, and I just don't know that this baby box side. There's going to be plenty of guts, plenty of hard effort, but I think it's not going to be good enough against a well-drilled Irish side. What are your views?
No, Brent, I agree fully. I also like the minus here, and the Northern Hemisphere teams has just been better than the Southern Hemisphere teams generally. So you have to lean to the Northern Hemisphere teams with most of the games, especially when they play against Southern Hemisphere teams. I agree. I like the minus here. The box, they've been really disappointing. Just a note on the Athlone Stadium, something I picked up with the last round of games. When there's wind, the wind plays a big factor. You have to check which team is playing with the wind and against the wind. And especially the previous game, Argentina against us, they played with the wind first half. And as soon as I saw that, I took unders on box first half points. I took Argentina to lead at half time, bets like that. And then half time, I switched. I backed the box on the plus. I backed Argentina unders on points. So you have to. I quickly check the weather for Athlone for Sunday now. It looks all right. On YR, they're predicting 7 meters per second. So it's a bit windy. But yeah, just check that, and you can get some nice value on one of the halves if you see the one team playing against the wind or with the wind. But another thing with the box, they played with the wind the second half, and every time they got a penalty, they tapped it. It didn't make sense.
Yeah,
I would have go for the corner. You're playing with the wind. You can put it out really closely. They probably didn't trust that because lineouts. I'm not sure what happened, but I couldn't understand how they kept the scrum off, kept quick tapping when you're playing with the wind, and they tried to keep the ball in hand, but luckily they came through for them in the end. But yeah, like you guys said, the lineouts, it doesn't make sense. And one thing that drives me mad is you get a penalty, you go for the corner, and then you go for a ball at the back of the line. I know it's a better ball because of the maul and stuff, but rather make sure you get it 5 meters from the line. It's such a lottery throwing so far, especially
when it is a bit windy.
Yeah, and wet and stuff, and in the evening as well. And like Alan said, he is a converted. That Tukur of South Africa is a converted prop. Yeah, it's a very specialized position. I'm a big fan of hookers that can do their basics, that can scrum well, obviously, and then the lineouts. The lineout is such a great attacking platform, so you have to get your own balls. It's a non-negotiable in my opinion. But yeah, getting back to this one, I agree with you guys. I think the minus is definitely the way to go. Yeah.
Well, Henrik, I'm going to bring you into the last game, but also just put the outright betting scrolling there. France 4-6, Ireland 5-2. Those of you following the show will know that I got on France at 9-4. I didn't take any of the even money before the last round, but still very confident with where I stand on that. Ireland 5-2, England 15-2, and SA the big underdogs there at 14-1. Henrik, we got France minus 10.5 against England. I mean, they played against Wales. I unfortunately lost on that game. I was on France over 46.5. They got a red card quite early in the first half. They then still scored 2 quick tries. It looked like they were toying with the Welsh team, quite frankly. But the points did dry up, so I didn't win my bet on that one. I'm already involved in them in the outright, so perhaps I don't want to get involved in this one. I don't know. Maybe it's going to depend what you tell me. What do you think here?
Yeah, Brent, I actually wanted to ask you about that now, with you being on the outright, because I followed you on that price on France early in the tournament, and then before the second round of games, I took even money on France as well. So I'm big on France to win the tournament at this stage. So I'm not going to be taking any minuses here, although I think it's probably the right bet. You can't go against this French team. You can't make a case for England plus, because this French team is just, in my opinion, they are a level above the rest of the teams. And as soon as they got the red card, I took over on their points and I backed them. You know how I feel about the red card.
Yes.
And I think I took over 45.5 and they ended thereabouts. So I lost there as well. But yeah, I just like it when a team gets a red card to back them. But yeah, I'm not going to bet on this game, Brent. I think the minus the way to go, but I've got lots of exposure on France win the tournament. So, and what are you going to do? Are you going to take the minus
I
again?
don't know. I might well end up having a bet on France in the minus because I do think they're going to be just too strong. But like you, because of the tournament exposure, I'm considering it. It was a bit like when France played New Zealand. That was just before that was when I took the 9-4 France to win the tournament. And that stopped me from really climbing into the France minus 8.5, minus 9.5 against New Zealand, which in retrospect, I think it's actually better to separate that and say, right, treat this game as it stands, standalone game. And I like the minus. Here. Coutinho, I think it is, making the point there about Tiolagi being the French monster being rested. I mean, what an absolute monster pack. And that man is absolutely unbelievable and gets to a tremendous amount of work as well. Farid saying the French have rested their first team. So, Alan, with all of that being said, you'd be a brave man to tip the English now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I can't. Yeah, as you said, putting money on France a while ago was a great idea. Yeah, I can't see this England pack living with the French pack. And not only that, I mean, their whole team's good. They've got an excellent 9. Their centers are good. They got pace out wide. They make very few mistakes. I mean, those oaks, when they get a maul and 2 Ilangis in the boot, I mean, you might as well just run under the poles on defense because no one's stopping that oak. He's such a game changer. France should win fairly easily, I would think, and God forbid we have to play them in the final because that could get messy.
I think we're going to avoid France, but it's not going to be because we're in the final. I think it's because we're playing England in the third place playoff position. You just mentioned the scrum off. I was watching with my son. They got a great scrummy, but they got 2 great scrummies. I was hell of impressed with. I think he's the B team scrum off. He started the last game, and then the guy wears the scrum cap came on in the number 21 jersey. I think both of them are brilliant scrum off. The depth in French rugby at the moment is getting pretty scary.
Yeah, no, I mean across all positions, but especially at scrum off. I mean, obviously, no one's ever going to take Dupont out, but I mean they've got a lot of good 9s. That Garrick, that Baptiste Serran as well. And then the Juno, I mean, he plays top 14 for Clermont. You know, he starts for his club side. So, yeah, they've got a lot of depth, even just in that one position. And fly-off as well, really, with Intermac, Jalabert, and Astoy at La Rochelle. So, yeah, their rugby is in rude health, the top 14. I wish we had top 14 again on our screens. I'm quite disappointed that SuperSport don't buy the rights to that because I mean, I would watch that. I would watch the repeat of games, 10 times a day rather than get involved in the Rebels Force game. You know what I mean?
I still enjoy my Super Rugby, but I hear you on the top 14. It would be great to have coverage. I just want to bring up something about Farid. When you were at school, you always learn sometimes how punctuation that can make a difference. Farid, I just want you to clarify this one. France have rested first team for this game. When I read it as France rested their team against who did they play in their last game there? Wales. And now they're bringing the first team back for this game. Or is it that France have actually said they're playing their second team against England? Because I think that's how Peter Paul read it. I don't know, Henrik, have you seen the teams? Do you know which way to read that?
I think Farid missed an A. After half and before rest, there must be a. France have a rested first team for this game.
Okay.
So they have rested the previous game, so they have a rested team for this game. I think that's what he meant.
Okay, 100%.
I don't think the teams are not out yet. So I think just that's what he means.
Yeah, here we go. And he says France on the cap is free money going to win by 15 points plus. I agree with you. And you know me in playoff matches, I do like the minuses as well. I'm going to forget about my outright bet and get involved. Anyway, gent, that brings us to the end of the show. It has been great to talk about some international rugby again, and I am really enjoying the under-20 tournament as well. But it's time to nail down the best bet. It looks like Alan's scrambling to work out his multiple there. So, Henrik, I'm going to go to you first. What are your best bets of the weekend?
Brent, Argentina, the plus, and I like Argentina overs there. I think actually the overs, I'd go for Argentina over 19.5 points as my best bet. I like the plus as well. And then, in the under 20s, I like Australia a lot. I think the plus is a cracker, but I like Australia to win the game. And then, in the back game, I like Australia there, that overs as well. But my best bet, Argentina over 19.5 points.
Right, and at Jackal for Life, what have you got for us?
Yeah, I think you guys have convinced me on Argentina, so they're going to go into the multiple. So I think it'll be Argentina, and then moving into the under 20s, I think I'll put in Australia, Georgia, and I think that'll be it. Those three.
Excellent. Well, that's the end of the show, talking Rugby Championship at under 20. Remember the Tour de France previews. If you do enjoy the Tour de France, you can subscribe and hit the bell to be reminded of those. My newsletter Best Bet will be out tomorrow. I got quite a lot of fancy this weekend. The challenge is going to be picking out the best bet. But anyway, Alan, thanks very much. Great having you on the show. What are you this weekend? Obviously you're not going back to George to watch the final day of Craven Week. You're going to watch that on TV.
Yeah. They have a long build up to the Bok game, and enjoy a lot of rugby on Saturday and Sunday. I'm still debating whether to go to Athlone Stadium on Sunday for the games. I guess I'll just see what the weather's doing. But we'll be in the Manus for the Bok game. So really looking forward to all the rugby this weekend.
Well, can I ask you a favor if you go to the Athlone Stadium? Because Henrik's touched on the wind, and the wind is obviously pretty important. If you could go onto the field and take a video of yourself without your cap so we can see which way your hair's blowing, would you do that for us? Couldn't resist. Couldn't resist.
Okay, it's a deal.
Just a quick one before I say goodbye to Henrik. Gert van Wyk saying, and Drickus du Plessis. So Drickus, I actually had to write a preview for... I'm sorry, not Drickus. Gert, I wrote a preview for this. Everybody I've spoken to in the know reckons Drickus is a top fighter, but he's going to find 1-2 better in the Aussie that he fights in Las Vegas on Saturday night. It's going to be a tough... you'll get some patriotic money on him, but everyone, including every article I've read of top guys, are all saying that this guy that he's fighting against is going to be a step too far for him. So we'll see what happens there. Henrik, great having you on the show, man. Enjoy the weekend. And if there's any sudden weather changes down that way, please let us know.
Thanks, Brent. We are expecting a bit of rain tomorrow and Saturday, but I think on Sunday it will be a bit better. So it should be good for the under 20s. But because there's a bit of rain coming, the field will obviously be soft. But good luck to everyone. Enjoy the weekend, and I can't wait for that game at Loftus. I think it's going to be a very good game. So looking forward to the weekend.
Excellent. Thanks to all the guys in the live chat. For Reed, look out, see. I mean, you can't be that blind. I think there will be quite a big crowd at the game. Look out. Maybe we'll get a photo of the two of you together. And then Jason coming in. Cameron Simon will win on Saturday. Yes, I agree. That's the other South African fighting in the UFC. And I must say, is quite a short price favorite. So, maybe we'll have to back him to win in round 2 or something along those lines. Thanks, everyone. That's it for now. We'll be back. Oh, quickly, Alan, when are the finals? When are the finals of the under 20?
Friday.
Next Friday. So so Thursday night will work out quite well then for a similar show where we can cover the finals. Okay, excellent. Thanks everyone. We'll see you Thursday night next week at 9:00 for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters.